children, how are you? I hope that you will be fine. Now the next topic which I am going to explain, that is the weathering.
Start.
Now see, weathering. What is weathering? Weathering means disintegration or the breaking down of the rocks by the agents present in the atmosphere like temperature, moisture, frost. That is known as the weathering, because the earth is not static, it is constantly changes. Some forces are changing the shape of the earth, or you can say that some forces that are always busy in changing the structure of the earth from inside as well as from outside. And the forces which are responsible for the changing shape of the earth, that processes are here: internal processes and external processes. What is the meaning of internal processes? Internal processes means which change the shape of the earth from inside the earth crust, or which movements are taking place under the earth crust, like tectonic movements. These movements are responsible for the earthquake, for volcanic eruption and the mountain building. But in this chapter we will study about the external processes. External processes which are taking place over the earth crust. Among that, the main is the weathering and the gradation. The gradation I will not explain you, because in your chapter only weathering is there. For weathering, the temperature changes, moisture, frost, these are responsible for the weathering. As I have told you, what is the meaning of the weathering? Weathering means the wearing away or the breakdown or the disintegration of the rocks by the agents present in our atmosphere. What are the agents which are present in our atmosphere? Temperature, moisture, frost, and that is called as the weathering. Now see, only the downward slope movement of the weathered material under gravity is included in the weathering. Means in the weathering, no transportation, no erosion, no deposition, that comes under the category of the weathering. Only the downslope movement of the weathered material under the gravity is included in the weathering. Weathering is mainly of three types: mechanical or physical weathering, biological weathering, chemical weathering. In this video I will only explain mechanical and the biological weathering. For chemical weathering I will make another video, because it should be chemical weathering. I will explain you later on. Why I will explain you later on? Because it should be explained in the detail. Its types are to be explained nicely, that is why. Now first I will explain you the mechanical weathering. What is mechanical weathering? Means the disintegration of the rocks takes place without any change in their chemical constituents. Means the chemical constituents which are present in the rocks, there is no any change in the chemical constituents of the rocks due to the physical weathering. Factors which are responsible for the chemical weathering are moisture, pressure, that causes the physical breakup of the rocks. Temperature also responsible for that. It takes place in the hot, dry and cold areas, because in the hot, dry and cold areas there is a rapid change in the temperatures. Means the temperatures are always not remaining the same. They are frequently changing, and the rocks are affected to a great depth also. The main agents of the weathering, physical weathering, that are the what I have told you: moisture, temperature, frost, winds. These are the factors which are responsible for the changes coming under the rocks. Means which disintegrates the rock. How these are disintegrating the rocks, that I will explain. When during the daytime the temperature is high, due to high temperature the rocks expands, and during night time when the temperature lowers down, then the rock contracts. Continuous contraction and expansion of the rocks due to change in the temperature results in the weakening of the rock, and at the end the rocks disintegrates. Now I'll explain you about the physical weathering. That physical weathering is of two types: granular disintegration, that is due to the temperature changes. What happens in the desert areas, in the hot deserts, if the rocks are coarse grained, means what is the meaning of the coarse grained rocks? Means which are made up of different chemicals or the minerals are added in it, and these are of various colors, and these rocks or the presence of the various colors or the constituents in the rock that observe the heat at different rates, means the different parts of the same rock receive and observe different amount of insolation. Due to that, the different parts of the rocks are consequently, the different parts of the rocks observe the differential expansion and the contraction, which causes the stress within the rock, and due to that the rock gets disintegrated. What I have told to you, in the hot desert areas, the rocks are of different colors, or in the same rock different chemical composition is there which observe the different amount of heat, and due to that the part of the rock which gets different amount of the heat or more amount of the heat, that expands and contracts faster than the other part of the rock, and that is why the rock get disintegrated into smaller particles, because it causes much stress within the rock. That is the granular disintegration. Exfoliation. What is the meaning of the exfoliation? As the onion peeled off in the concentric shells, in the same way the peeling of the concentric shells of the rocks due to combined action of heat and wind in the hot arid, semi-arid region and monsoon lands. What it means, that in the hot arid and the semi-arid regions, the wind as well as the heat is responsible for the peeling of the concentric shells of the rock. Exfoliation is more common over crystalline rocks. The outer shells of the rocks become loose due to alternate expansion and contraction of the high temperature during the day and comparatively low temperature during the night time, and these loosened shells that are peeled off by the strong winds. Once again, exfoliation is the result of the high temperature as well as the wind, because due to the high temperature the alternate expansion and the contraction takes place, and which results into the loosening shells of the loosening shells which are removed by the strong winds. That is the exfoliation. Is the block disintegration. Block disintegration takes place due to the frost. Bare rock surfaces are heated during the daytime, and during the night time due to less temperature they contract. The continuous contraction and expansion that results into the cracks in form of the joints over the rocks, and in that way the rocks then disintegrated along these joints and broken into big blocks of the rocks, and they fall down the slope under the impact of the gravity. Now next is the biological weathering. What is the biological weathering? That I will explain you. Biological weathering means disintegration of the rocks due to the minerals and due to the chemical physical agents of an organism is known as the biological weathering. For the biological weathering, the burrow making animals are responsible, the plants, trees, bushes, these are responsible, algae, lichen, bacteria, mosses are responsible. What happens? The trees are having their roots, trees, bushes, Plants, they are having their roots, and these roots move deep into the cracks and result into the disintegration of the rocks. The decaying roots also add the organic acid to the joints, and this organic acid results to speed up the action of the weathering. What I am explaining once again, the roots in the bushes, plants, trees, they are having the roots, and these roots move deep into the rocks, and thus that result into the disintegration of the root. और जो ये trees हैं, bushes हैं, plants हैं, जो decaying roots हैं इनकी, वो क्या करती हैं, एक ऑर्गेनिक एसिड को रिलीज करती है, और वो जो ऑर्गेनिक एसिड है वो वेदरिंग के प्रोसेस को स्पीड अप कर देता है. एल्गी, लिचन्स, बैक्टीरिया एंड मॉसेस जो होते हैं इन ह्यूमिड एरियाज, ये भी वीक एसिड प्रोड्यूस करते हैं विच कन्वर्ट सम ऑफ द मिनरल्स इनटू द क्ले. एल्गी ग्रोथ can weaken many rock type and make it more open to the weathering. फिर chelates, what is the meaning of chelation? Chelation is also a biological process. कुछ जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं उनमें ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंस होता है जिसको हम चिलेट्स बोलते हैं, और इस ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंस में एबिलिटी होती है मिनरल्स को डीकम्पोज करने की. रॉक्स बाय द रिमूवल ऑफ द मेटालिक cations. That is all about the physical and the biological weathering. In next video I'll explain you about the chemical weathering. Thank you. God bless you.